So chapter 3 starts out with exploration and colonization of the Americas. North and South America we're going to learn about were colonized by this primarily the Spanish. Before that, we have Leif Ericson. Leif Ericson is one of the first Europeans actually to land in North America, actually about 500 years before Columbus in 1001. If you see this map here, it shows that they landed up in Greenland and in Newfoundland, but they didn't really stay much. They actually went back to where they came from in Northern Europe. Here's a couple of journeys that Leif Erikson did in 1000 AD. So he's in the dark blue. He sails from Greenland into North America, into this area here. North of this is in Canada, and before him, a Viking by the name of Eric the Red. He sailed here. They didn't last long. They didn't get along well with the Inuits, the Native Americans who were there, so they basically went back to Northern Europe. So then we have Ferdinand and Isabella. Ferdinand and Isabella were the king and queen of Spain, and they are the ones who are, they're right here in this picture. They're the ones who actually agree to finance, which means to pay for Columbus's voyage. If Columbus was successful, they would make lots of money, controlling a new trade route to Asia. The Portuguese had controlled the route to Asia around Africa, so Spain wanted to get more of a control of that trade route, so they thought by sailing west, they could go to Asia. So Columbus in 1492 sails from Italy. Well, he's from Italy. He sails for Spain. And again, he wants to reach Asia by sailing west. He reaches the Americas. He never really does reach Asia. Creates a colony for Spain. And this is considered a turning point for the world. This is a huge time in history that marks a very decisive change in history. So Columbus reaching America, the Native Americans had no idea about, there was another whole world, and Europeans had no idea that there was another whole world. So basically these two worlds met at that time. Columbus had 4 different voyages, and along his voyages he sails around the Caribbean, along here. This would be Central America, the different Caribbean islands, and he sets up colonies along the way. 2 effects of Columbus's voyages that you should know about is that all of the Native Americans who lived here, they were called the Taino Indians. He forced the Tainos to work. They died from European diseases. Smallpox was a very deadly disease that the Indians got. But another one of the major effects was, again, this exchange of goods and ideas from Eastern Europe to Eastern Hemisphere to the Western Hemisphere. We call that the Columbian Exchange. Another explorer during that time period, a little bit later, was Vasco Nunez de Balboa. He was in 1513. He was an explorer for Spain. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to kind of pick up where Columbus went left off. So they know that North and South America is not Asia, and so he knows that on the other side of this land is possibly the route to Asia. And remember, they're going to Asia because Asia has spices, they have silks, they have all sorts of things that the Europeans want, and Spain wants to get control of that trade. So what Balboa does is I'll show you in a map. He goes through right down here. This is Panama. He goes through this isthmus. This is a thin strip of land with water on both sides. He goes through this isthmus of Panama, and just hiking through the jungle, because he talks to the natives there and they tell him about this water on the other side, and he goes through it and he locates the Pacific Ocean, and he claims that for Spain. The next explorer is Ferdinand Magellan. And so a few years later, not much, now that they know that there's an ocean on the other side of that land, he and his crew set sail to circumnavigate the globe. So they're going to try to sail around the globe. Now they left in 1519 with 250 men. They return in 1522, but only 18 are left. They did find a all-water route to Asia. Magellan does not make it along the way. He dies in the Philippines by attacks by the natives there. The route that he took was he went west across the Atlantic. He went around the southern tip of South America, across the Pacific Ocean, and then back to Europe. So here's a map. This is where he starts out. He starts out here, goes around. This is South America. This is South America down here. He goes through what's called the Strait of Magellan now. Then this would be this is the Atlantic Ocean, okay? He goes down around the southern tip of South America. This is into the Pacific Ocean. Right? This map wraps around. And then in here, in the Philippines, this is where he's killed. And his crew keeps going. They want to go home. So they go across the ocean here. This is the Indian Ocean. And then around, this would be Africa. It goes around South Africa. And then back up the western coast of Africa. Finally, they make it back. Another map of Magellan's circumnavigation. Okay, he stops along the way here. He stops in what's now Brazil. Goes through the Strait of Magellan, across the Pacific Ocean. He's over here. He goes to these islands here in the Philippines. And that's where he's killed. And then around Africa. So a few vocab words for this section. One is Columbian Exchange. I said it before. The Columbian Exchange is the actual global exchange of goods and ideas between the Eastern and Western hemispheres. It started with Columbus. The exchange goes both ways. So Native Americans gave Europeans food, and the Europeans gave Native Americans food. Medicine was traded back and forth. Ideas about government, technology, different art, ways to even speak. Languages were traded back and forth. So not everything was bad with the Columbian Exchange, although there was a major thing that was bad, and that would be smallpox. Smallpox was brought from Europe, killed millions of Native Americans. Here's a diagram of different items that were exchanged back and forth. So if you look on this side, this is North and South America. They introduced to Europe these items: beans, chocolate, corn, peanuts, pineapples, potatoes, pumpkins, squash, sweet potatoes, tobacco, tomatoes, and turkeys. All of those things are native to North and South America. So they never had, before Columbus, they never had pineapples in Europe. They never had tomatoes in Europe. They never had chocolate in Europe. And so all of these goods were brought to Europe. Now, on the other side of the Columbian Exchange, from Europe and Africa, they brought over to North and South America things like bananas, cattle, that's cows, chickens. Native Americans didn't have chickens until Columbus came. Different types of citrus fruits, coffee beans, grapes, horses, onions, peaches, pigs, rice, sugarcane, and wheat. So sometimes we think of Native Americans, riding horses in the Southwest. Those horses weren't there until Columbus came. When Columbus came, they brought with him all of these things. So what the Spanish did was they set up colonies in this new world that they called. A colony is a group of people who settle in a distant land. They're still ruled by their native land. So it's kind of like they're camping far away, but they still have they still have the government controlling them from where they came from. This is what they set up a lot of times. They would set up a fort that would protect them from any kind of attacks. And so basically, this is about different explorers. Again, Magellan, Balboa, Columbus, and how they explored this new world. And one of the main things you need to get out of this is this Columbian Exchange. The Columbian Exchange was a huge thing that really, like I said before, it became a turning point in the world. And so that's it for Chapter 3, Section 1.